finish up this first session with what we call a backward walk toe touch, which is really just to stretch your gastroc muscle. So we have two calf muscles. We have the soleus that goes down into the Achilles, and then the gastroc, which attaches above. So to get a big stretch on that one, we need to keep the legs straight. If we only keep it bent, then it'll only get the lower part of the calf. So that way we get both of them at the same time. And if you're running on the hills around here, we need those calf muscles to propel ourselves up. So a really good one to do. So if we look at that, handful of exercises, we've talked you through it, but in the reality, it's no more than 5 minutes. So it's, with our athletes, they've all got their satellite watches, and you got to stand outside and get your coverage. So what do? We came up with a routine. Hit your watch, wait for your satellite, get your squats in, side, loosen up, you're chatting away if it's, with your friends, how was the work day, and then we go on for a run. Make sense? Yeah. Got it covered. Great. Okay, so that's our warm-up routine. And again, we do that pretty much every day, or at least with our athletes that train twice a day, we just do it before the first session. So pretty much in the morning, Really important to do before the long runs, because you're not going to get more flexible out on a long run. You're only going to get tighter as fatigue happens. So you want to start nice and loose and warm and ready to go. All right. So now we're going to go into what we call active stretching. And don't worry about the word stretching, because it's a little bit tricky. Let's say we'll just call this more active range of motion. Okay. The human body, in terms of how the muscles work, they move bones. That's what muscles do, right? They work in, for the most part, a binary principle of one muscle's on and its opposite muscle is off. So the best way to connect with the brain, which controls all this funky stuff, is to stay within that system. So if I want to stretch a hamstring, I work the opposite muscle, which is the quad. If I want to stretch an IT band, or what we call our abductors, I work the opposite muscle, which are the adductors. We can then use some tools to get us a little greater range of motion, maybe an extra 5 or 10%. And with that, we come in handy things like stretch ropes, or with our own body, using our hands as levers. With these, to offset what's called the stretch reflex, and to put that in simple terms, if anyone ever tries to do, let's say, a splits, and you're not really flexible, and you try to go to that end range of motion, and you try to go a little bit more, your body tightens up to protect itself, and that locks down. So that can happen in a very short time frame. It could happen in less than a second if it's a really fast stretch, or usually around 2 to 3 seconds. So with our active stretching, we keep it in an exercise format, so it's really the hold is no longer than a second or two. And that will keep things safe, but also keep your body from locking down to protect itself. So we're going to show you a couple of those now. So the first one we're going to show you is for the quads. A couple ways of doing quads, but a simple one we're going to do here is you can do pretty much anywhere. You don't need a table. Is actually do the other way first. Yeah, just so they can see better. All right. So what Jen's going to do here, stretch the quads means she's got to work the hamstrings and the glutes. That'll stretch the long quad muscle as well as the hip flexor, psoas and things like that. So what she's going to do, the first one to get the real upper part, she's going to really squeeze the glute and the hamstring. And from those, while keeping a strong core, she's going to push her hip forward and then back. So she drives forward by both bending that opposite leg, but at the same time squeezing hard on the backside. So it's a great neurological re-education, as well as, hey, it's some secret strength training too. All right? So, simple movement, 8, 10, 12 reps. Hold for a second at the end. Again, not blasting through range of motion, just kind of hitting it, a little bit of assistance with the active muscles, and then release. Now, to get a deeper stretch in the quads, or go all the way down towards the knee, Jenna will use her hand to help this hamstring, because the quads are stronger than the hamstrings. She needs a little support. So even though she has her hand here holding the leg, she still is focusing on squeezing the hamstrings and the glutes. And now she's going to do the same motion. Core stays tight. She propels through the forward plane to get a deep stretch that's going to get all 4 quads plus the psoas. Nice and simple, only going to that end range. And what you'll find as you do this, as you kind of go reps from the start to the beginning, from beginning to end, you'll gain range of motion right there. So, hey, the first one's a little tight, ooh, okay. But hey, by 10 or 12, hey, it's starting to feel pretty good, all right? What we also find is, hey, I do my left side, not bad. I go do my right side, woo, not nearly as good, right? That's a great warning sign for you that, could be an injury if I don't take care of this. So it's very good on that prevention side. So what do? Hey, maybe I do an extra set on that side. Start to loosen it up. You're probably not going to get it all in this session, but over time, you'll get it so you start to balance things out. Excellent. All right. Next big muscle group we're going to deal with, hamstrings. So actively stretching the hamstrings can be really hard on your own. Most people will just kind of do, put the leg up and one of those and kind of reach and talk to their friends. What you find with that, they bend their shoulders over, they're all hunched over. But the biggest thing is they don't work the quads. So if they don't work the quads, really hard to get a good stretch on the hamstrings. And it also actually becomes very easy to like rip them at the tendons a little bit, and we get a lot of little micro tears. So it becomes really important to work the quads to stretch the hamstring. So if you haven't stretched it much, we're going to take the opposite leg, just bend it, right? That's our good stable support for the back so that we don't do anything to the back. Jen's basically going to use all her quads and hip flexors in the front to lift the leg up. The rope, and this is important, is an assistance to the stretch that's coming from the leg, not the only thing. What you'll see most time, and I see it all around college campuses where kids have been taught how to stretch, they're just yanking on the rope left and right, and they're doing nothing. The other big thing to remember is keep everything else locked in and solid or quiet. So with her, we're not seeing a big arch in the back, we're not seeing the hips fly off the table to get that stretch. Everything else is just staying where it is. So if you don't have the range of motion to go that high, then you don't go that high. So if Jen's range of motion is short here, because once she comes up there, everything pops up, this is where we start. And that's fine. It'll get better. Repetition over time. Good. Hamstrings. Now, a couple of variations, because we have 3 hamstrings. All we got to do to stretch the inside or the outside is change the rope. So if the rope wraps around the outside of your ankle, it tilts the foot, and now you're going to get lateral hamstring stretch. Really simple. Same principles apply. Now you're working more medial quad so as to lift it up. All we do then is to get the medial side, flip it, wrap the rope on the inside. So now she's working lateral quad TFL to stretch medial hamstring. And you can even move the leg around in terms of where it comes up on your body to hit those certain tight spots that are specific to you. Really simple, really easy, doesn't take a lot of time. Those are hamstrings. Okay, glutes. Glutes are tough. Glute, biggest muscle, strongest muscle pound for pound that we have when we run. Most distance runners don't use their glutes. Most often because they're so tight, they don't even know how to work, right? So it becomes really important to use your glutes. All right, opposite muscles of the glutes are what? Abs, a little bit high, but we'll come into it. Anyone? Hip flexors, great. Psoas, iliacus, all those things that kind of cross the groin line down into there, those are our movement. Anything that lifts our knee up or lifts it up and rotates is going to stretch the glute. So what Jen's going to do is going to use those muscles to bring the leg up. Now she's flexible enough that she can use her hands then to assist. But if you're tight, you can actually use the rope put it around your ankle, and do the same motion. So Jen is lifting the leg up with the muscles on the medial side of the quad. The knee is bent because if the leg is straight, then it's going to get all hamstring, and we just want to target glutes. So she's going to keep it bent, bring it up towards her chest or across the body a little bit to get the lateral aspect of it, and then release. Now if she's really tight or she's got really short arms, then she uses the rope. And the rope, she can then just kind of walk it up like that and back. Very simple tool, but really starts to open up that muscle and allow you to use it. If you've ever seen sprinters, big glutes, really strong, a lot of force and velocity. You get your glutes strong and open up, your stride length will grow, and you didn't even have to train harder to get a better stride length. All you did was get more flexible and a little more powerful.